Alright gang, we've got something so unusual that I'm making a little special video about it. This appears to be a prototype pistol by Searle, the man behind the Savage pistols. Now, this is something that I found when browsing through back rooms of LSB auctions, who were kind enough to host me here in California. Along with the pistol, a number of drawings were found on how to construct the pistol. This was all situated in a drawer, discovered without explanation, and without necessarily referencing any patents that I know of at the moment. I am, of course, working in the field. However, the piece itself is here, and very interesting, so let's have a little bit of a mini episode in this case. As we can see from this side, we have, well, a 32 ACP pistol, slide operated, very familiar to those of you who know the Savage 1907, and yet much more sleek, clearly sort of tool room. We have unusual wide panel grips and this long extension off the front in the grips. We have two levers. I'll tell you ahead of time, this is safety and this is part of the takedown. And if we flip this over, we have, well, not a lot else except for this mysterious button here, which is actually quite important. Now, the gun, I'm unsure whether it's supposed to be operated left or right-handed, but for demonstration purposes, it's a little bit easier to show in the left hand, but I am going to have to change my focus just a bit, so bear with me for a moment. Unlike so many other squeeze grip pistols, this is not a safety. You could pull this trigger and have the gun go bang at this moment. I am not going to dry fire this piece though. It's a one of one. But if I want to squeeze this to even use it, it won't do anything unless I depress this button here. There's some argument that it might be left-handed because of that position being so convenient for the thumb, or with the ejection port where it is on the right side. I suspect this is probably a right-handed gun, and it's supposed to encourage you to take your finger away from the trigger in order to activate the pistol. I'm not left-handed, and this is actually very heavily sprung. But if you push that button and squeeze with your hand, a little magic happens. Let's see. I'm sorry for hiding so much of the gun, but that's okay because the party is all up top. The slide starts retracting. And if I continue to squeeze, eventually, it will automatically chamber the first round, readying the pistol. That is freaking cool. While the technical drawings date to 1917, I suspect the reason that this pistol exists actually dates back to around 1909 or 1910. This would have been during the trials for what would become the Colt 1911. The last holdout for adoption of an automatic pistol was the cavalry, who felt the need to use two hands in order to ready the automatic pistol was a severe loss against the ever-ready revolver. Colt ended up adding a manual cocked and locked safety in order to keep them happy. However, this Searle prototype is more true to what they wanted. You could best compare it to, say, an Einhorn pistol, or this other trigger guard cocker introduced by Ole Krag and applied to the Swedish M7 Browning pistol. The problem with these trigger bow cockers is a tendency to ease them forward slowly, causing failures to properly chamber around. The Searle, however, has a lovely automatic snap at the end of its travel. At the bottom, we can see that this cocking piece is actually doing dual duty because it's also holding the magazine in place at the front of the lip. If we press that previous button you saw, the elongated one, and don't squeeze, this guy will actually go the other way, off the front, at which point the magazine is free to fall clear, and it's actually very simple in construction. Now, this took a little reading on my part, but this is the safety operated by your thumb if you're right-handed. In this position, it is safe. It's safe, and the trigger cannot make the gun go boom. The reason it can't is because if I flip this down, you notice there's a shiny block underneath. This is tied into the sear mechanism. The trigger, oh boy, you'd have your trigger, you'd have an extension down here, and this is a sliding sear. This guy must project slightly to the left towards you, the viewer, towards the camera, in order for the gun to go boom. I'm not going to dry fire a one-off prototype like this, so I can't show you it doing it right now. But the simplicity of the safety is that when it's flipped up, this guy cannot be driven leftward, can't rise, and therefore the gun cannot go boom. You guys get the idea. This guy is actually a takedown lever. I found that you kind of have to give it just a little snug on the slide, flip this guy up, and then, realistically, it's already done its job, but in order to see what's happening, I'm going to keep retracting that slide in order to expose the barrel. You know what, let me pick this up and refocus just a bit. If I pull the slide back, we see that there's some flutes around the barrel. Those are not meant to be rotated like they would be on a Ruby. Instead, you just pluck it straight out. Although, I'm a little bit full on hands trying to show this to the camera. Actually, ooh, it rode right forward for me anyway. Didn't have to redo the shot. Let's pull this out. And then, oh boy, yeah, this says Searle all over it. Look at our locking grooves. Look at our extension that's wrapped around the barrel and clipped on the barrel. We've seen that in the Savage before. And look at these beautiful flutes. Presumably just to reduce weight and heat at this point, because you do not have to rotate this for assembly or disassembly. Now, this is as far as we're going to go, because I have been assured that they tried to take this guy apart further in terms of removing the slide, and it was a pain to put back on. We don't really want to ruin a one-off collectible, so unfortunately, if you'd like to know more about this handgun, you're going to have to look for additional images and information in LSB's upcoming auction for this very rare, one-of-a-kind piece of, well, American history, and the papers that go with it.